What if I told you that the single most powerful tool in cybersecurity isn't some super complex, flashy exploit? Nope. It's just the ability to listen. And that's what we're diving into today. We're talking about Nmap, the tool that literally lets you see the network the same way a hacker does.
Seriously, everything in cybersecurity, and I mean everything, starts right here. Before a single line of malicious code is written, before any of the real action or drama happens, there's just quiet, careful observation. This first step, reconnaissance, is all about understanding the digital landscape. It's where battles are often won or lost before they've even really started.
And this quote just nails it, right? If hacking were a game of chess, Nmap is how you study the board before you even think about touching a piece. It's not about making a move, it's about seeing all the possible moves ahead of time. It's that deep strategic analysis that gives you a complete map of the board, showing you exactly where every single piece is, how it's positioned, and most importantly, where the weaknesses are. So, okay, what is Nmap, really? First off, let's just forget everything you've seen in the movies, the frantic typing to hack the mainframe. That's not what this is. Nmap doesn't actually break anything. It's much simpler and honestly, much more elegant. It just asks questions. It sends out these carefully crafted little signals and then just listens for the answers. It's kind of like a doctor using a stethoscope to hear a heartbeat and figure out what's going on inside a system they can't physically see.
And believe me, the answers it gets back are, well, they're incredibly revealing. Nmap can tell you which computers or devices on a network are even powered on. It can show you which network ports, and you can just think of these as digital doors, are open. It'll even tell you what specific software is running on those ports. And a lot of the time, it can even figure out what operating system is hiding behind the curtain. All right, let's start with the absolute basics. This command right here. This is the simplest way you can possibly use Nmap. Think of it as the digital version of walking up to a building and just giving a polite knock on the front door. It's a simple, direct question. Hello? Anyone home?
So what do you get from that polite knock? Well, you get some really fundamental answers. First, it confirms if a machine is even online and listening. Then, it does a quick check of the 1,000 most common ports and tells you what it finds. Are they open and ready for a connection? Are they closed, just straight up refusing? Or are they filtered, which usually means something like a firewall is getting in the way and blocking your knock?
Okay, so that was the basic knock. Now, let's level up a bit. We're moving on to what is really Nmap's signature move, the TCP SYN scan. This is the one that the pros use. It's their go-to, because it's a much more subtle way of asking those exact same questions.
So what makes this the signature move?
Well, this is where it gets really clever. Sure, it's fast, but the most important thing is that it's stealthy. See, it starts the process of making a connection. That's the famous three-way handshake you might have heard of, but it never actually finishes it. It's like reaching out to shake someone's hand and then pulling back at the very last second. And why does that matter? Because a lot of logging systems are set up to only record completed handshakes. So this little trick, it often flies completely under the radar. But what if stealthy isn't what you need? What if you need to be absolutely 100% sure you haven't missed a single thing? Well, that's when you bring out the full port scan. That little -P you see there tells Nmap, hey, don't just check the top 1,000 ports. I want you to go through and methodically check every single one of them, all 65,535. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this scan is slow. I mean, it can take a long time, but it's honest. It leaves absolutely no stone unturned. And here's the crucial part. Attackers love to hide services on these weird, obscure, high-numbered ports precisely because they know most people only bother to check the common ones. This scan? This is how you find what's hiding where nobody else is even looking. Okay, so up until now, we've basically just been finding open doors, right? Now we're going to ask a much more important question. Who, or maybe I should say what, is actually behind that door? This command, the SV flag, is all about service and version detection. And let me tell you, the answer you get back from this is a total game changer. You don't just find out that, say, port 21 is open. No, you learn that it's running a specific FTP server, VSFTP version 2.3.4. And that version number, that is everything. Why? Because that exact version of that software had a really famous, really bad backdoor vulnerability. A version number tells a story, and a lot of the time that story is about a weakness just sitting there waiting. So let's just put this into perspective. A basic scan is kind of like asking for a simple list of open doors. But an aggressive scan, the one that uses the A flag, That's like walking up and demanding the building's complete architectural blueprint. Yeah, it's not subtle at all, but wow, is it comprehensive.
So what exactly do I mean by everything? Well, an aggressive scan basically bundles a bunch of powerful techniques all into one command. It tries to figure out the operating system, it does that version detection we just talked about, it runs a whole set of default scripts to scoop up even more info, and it does a tracer route to map the network path to your target. Like I said, it's loud, but it is incredibly powerful.
So, we've seen how Nmap can find the doors and identify exactly what's behind them. But what if it could go one step further? What if the same tool that maps out the territory could also, gently test its defenses?
Well, it can, and this is where we get into the Nmap Scripting Engine, or NSE. You can think of this as Nmap's hidden blade. By using these scripts, you can basically transform Nmap from a passive tool that just looks around into an active hunter looking for vulnerabilities. This command right here, for example, tells Nmap to run all of the scripts it has in its vuln category against whatever you're targeting.
And I want to be really clear here, these scripts are incredibly precise. They're not just, blindly attacking the target, they're checking for very specific things. Known software vulnerabilities, weak SSL or encryption settings, default usernames and passwords that someone forgot to change, and all sorts of common server misconfigurations. This is the point where Nmap really becomes a professional auditing tool.
Okay, so far we've been looking at this mostly from an attacker's point of view. But now we need to talk about what is maybe the most crucial point of all. The bad guys use this tool, which means the good guys, the defenders, have to use it. If you're not scanning your own network to find the weaknesses, you can bet that someone else is. For a defender, Nmap isn't a weapon, it's a shield.
The real security professionals, the blue teams, they use Nmap constantly. They use it to audit their own systems so they can see exactly what an attacker would see. They use it to hunt down those forgotten servers and services that someone left running in a closet somewhere. It helps them reduce their company's overall attack surface, and it lets them double-check that their firewall rules are actually working the way they're supposed to. Trust me, if Nmap finds a surprise on your own network, you've got a problem to fix. And that brings us to, without a doubt, the most important thing we're going to talk about. This is an incredibly powerful tool. And with great power comes, immense responsibility. This quote just says it all. Your skill, your curiosity, it all turns into a crime real fast if you don't have consent. So the rules of engagement here are simple, and they are absolutely not negotiable. Rule number 1, you only scan systems that you personally own. Rule number 2, you only scan systems you have explicit written permission to test. And rule number 3, you have to remember that unauthorized scanning is illegal in a lot of places. So be sharp, be smart, but above all else, be ethical. So how do you actually practice and get good at this stuff safely and legally? Simple. You build a lab. You can use local virtual machines. Things like Metasploitable or DVWA are designed specifically to be vulnerable for you to practice on. You can use awesome online platforms like TryHackMe or Hack the Box that give you safe, sandboxed environments to play in. Or, hey, just set up your own little lab on your home network. The point is, your skills should grow in a controlled environment, not a courtroom. So let's kind of end where we began. Nmap isn't flashy. It isn't what you see in the movies. But every single real security professional, whether they're on the attacking side or the defending side, understands this one fundamental truth. Information wins battles. The intel you gather, the map you create, that's what lets you win the fight long before the first exploit is ever even written. Look, at the end of the day, this knowledge is a tool. It gives you this incredible ability to listen to the heartbeat of the internet, to really understand its structure and its flaws. So the final question isn't really about what you can do with this tool. It's about what you will do. What will you choose to build? What will you choose to defend? And what will you choose to protect?